Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, live for you on LouTube today. And thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And two, I'm back today with another 2018 college football team preview. I'm trying to get these things wrapped up. Season and right around the corner here, starting in a week or two. Thumbs up this video if you're excited about the start of the college football season, or if you're a North Carolina Tarheels fan. That's what's on the agenda for today. Going to be previewing and predicting the 2018 season for the North Carolina Tar Heels. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Some of them are even watchable, so I would appreciate it. Anyway, enough blabbering. Let's get on with today's preview video, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Yeah. All right, here we go, UNC. Not a lot of good news, is it? No, not really. If you're a North Carolina fan, not a whole lot to be happy about over the last year or so when it comes to your football team. We'll start with last year. One of the worst seasons you've had in a while. I think it, 2006 maybe? You got to go all the way back, so about 11, 12 years since you've had a season as bad as you had last year, going 3-9. Sad, really. What'd you have? One win in conference, I think. One win in the ACC. 3-9 overall. Offense, pathetic, pitiful. I'm not sure what happened. It wasn't that long ago North Carolina was giving Clemson everything they could handle in the ACC championship game, and now North Carolina has just completely nosedived and fell off the cliff. Last in the ACC in points per game last year at 19.3. Gave up 30 sacks. And the defense, no better than the offense. You gave up 31.3 points a game. So you got to find a way to make up a difference of 12 points a game somewhere this year if you want to try to win any meaningful games. Problem with that, of course, you got half your players selling their shoes up there. I'll talk more about that in a second here, but let's talk about your offense and then your defense. Well, coming out of spring, or going into spring and coming out of spring, really, quarterback battle was down to two people, right? This Surratt and Elliott. Surratt, a runaround type guy. Elliott, a little more experience in leadership. Pretty close race between those two guys. Not anymore. Like we mentioned with the shoes, Surratt is one of these guys. What do you have? 11, 12, 13 players, something like that, suspended between 1 and 4 games to start the season. Bad news, real bad news. These are big distractions to have heading into a season. Look what happened with Florida last year, and they're a way more talented team than North Carolina is. They had 11, 12, 13 players suspended headed into the season and ended up with 4 wins. This just is not good. You needed help big time at the quarterback position. Having these two guys battling it out was probably the best case scenario for you. That's out the window now. Elliott will get the start because Surratt can't play. He's suspended. Offensive line. I mentioned you gave up 30 sacks last year, so you can decide whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, but you lose 4 starters off of that offensive line. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. You're going to have a lot of inexperience along your offensive line this year, but let's just be real. Not very likely they'll be as bad as they were last year. At least you better hope they aren't. So you got to replace 4 starters there. Now, running back and wide receiver is the bright spot for North Carolina's offense if you're trying to find one, right? You got this receiver, again, with these hyphenated names. I swear I don't get it. Every year that goes by, there's more and more players with hyphenated names. I really don't get it. I'll say it again. I don't know if this is this guy's maiden name. I don't know what this is, but the guy's name, Ratliff Williams. Now, this guy's a burner and can jump out of the gym, right? Can jump through the roof. Leading receiver. You got him back. That's good. You'll have probably a couple of freshmen playing alongside him. Some talented freshmen, but freshmen have no experience. We'll have to wait and see with them. Tight end, you looked like you were going to be okay at tight end heading into this season. Unfortunately, your starting tight end suffered a brutal knee injury in the spring. I'll be surprised if he's able to come back from that and play it all this year. And then running back, you got sort of a two-headed thing you used there with was Carter and Brown. Yeah, Carter and Brown. They combined for about 1,100 yards last year, so not great, but you could be doing a lot worse there. 1,100 yards between the two of them. They'll be back this year. Let's see what they can do. Now, over to the defensive side of the ball, and there's some more really bad news here, okay? You were last against the run, not only last year, not only the year before, not only the year before. 5 years straight, North Carolina's been dead last against the run. I remember making a big deal about this 2 years ago, heading into the 2016 season when Georgia was opening up week 1 with North Carolina. North Carolina was coming off a pretty good season the year before, but in their bowl game against Baylor, they gave up like 700 yards rushing. I'm not exaggerating. You can look it up. I forget which bowl game they played in, North Carolina versus Baylor, but they gave up 600 and something rushing yards to Baylor. I made a big deal about that heading into the Georgia game, and of course, Georgia ran wild on North Carolina, and it's just been a theme for the Tar Heels for the last 5 years. How you can manage to finish last in anything for 5 years in a row is mesmerizing to me. I mean, you got to really try. This is like not scoring a point, like, right, the Big Ten and the whole playoff thing. Big Ten hasn't scored a point in the playoffs since 2014. That includes 2 shutout losses in the playoffs. Very, very hard to get shut out in a college football game, especially a playoff game. Might even be harder, though, to go 5 years in a row being dead last in any category, but you've managed to do it with your run defense, so congratulations. Now, could it improve this year? I think there's a good chance it can. You return 8 of your top 9 defensive linemen from last year. So, although they may not be elite defensive linemen, they have a lot of experience, and you've got 8 of your top 9 from last year returning. I take that as a positive sign. Best player on your defense. Here comes the bad news. Okay? Your best player on your defense, in my opinion, is your defensive end. This guy, Carney, is a senior. He led you in sacks for his sophomore year and his junior year. Poised for another big year this year, but he sold his shoes. So, your best player on defense suspended to start the season, and the most important position on offense, quarterback, suspended to start the season. Not good. Not good at all. Your secondary will be okay. It's a little inexperienced. We'll see how that goes. You lost 2 starters, 2 of your starting linebackers from last year. Listen, before this whole thing came out with the free shoes, right? Before you suspended 11, 12, 13 players to start the season, it was going to be a rough road to a bowl game for North Carolina. You're not making a bowl game. I'll just tell you that now before I even get to the preview. It's just not happening. Your non-conference game or your non-conference schedule is not very manageable, in my opinion, and you don't have the talent to compete against the ACC teams. That's not a recipe for disaster. A lot of times, teams can be terrible, but if you can run the conference against bad non-con teams and then just pick up a couple of conference wins or whatever, you're able to make a bowl game. Going to be hard to do that for North Carolina this year, but let's see if we can try to find 6 wins for North Carolina. I'll throw the schedule up on the screen, and we'll go ahead and get started here. Week 1 on the road against a Power 5 opponent, 3,000 miles away at Cal. Is Cal a good team? Not really. Lost their best player. Who was it? Demetrius Robertson. Where is he at now? Georgia. Won't matter in this game. You'll lose. I'm sorry. I don't think Cal's a great team, but and if you're a North Carolina fan and you're about to get in the comment section and say Cal ain't no good, okay. You ain't no good either. So, somebody's got to win this game. You got to travel a long way to play it. 11, 12, 13 players won't be making this trip. Cal will beat you. You start 0-1. What are you doing starting the season with 2 non-conference road games? Somebody needs to fire the scheduler, whoever did. This is just ridiculous, but at East Carolina. So, bad news. 2 road games to start the season. Good news, East Carolina, terrible. Now, a few years ago, they put together a couple of good seasons. Not the case here lately. Terrible team last year. I know you have to play them there. I list this as a toss-up game, and honestly, that's being generous to both of you. Really, you might both lose this game. But I list it as a toss-up. I'll come back at the end and give you a winner on that one. Week 3, finally come home. That's the good news. Bad news, Central Florida coming in. How many games in a row have they won? 13, 14? No Scott Frost, but a lot of the talent is still there. You still have players suspended at this point in the season? I'm sorry. Central Florida's going to, they may claim another national title here. I don't know. Apparently Central Florida, you beat a average to below average Power 5 team, you can claim yourselves a national title. You beat Auburn, average team, claim national title. They may claim another one here week 3. We'll see. But you're not going to beat them. They will beat you. Another home game against Pittsburgh. I'll say the same thing about Cal. Pittsburgh good? Not really. But neither are you. I think Pittsburgh beats you. I really think they do. I think they beat you. I'll admit this is a game I could be wrong on, but again, if you didn't have any players suspended and look, I know not all the players are suspended for 4 games, some for 1, some for 2, some for 4, but the point is, this is your 4th game of the year. If everyone was playing starting week 1 and your entire offense and defense had 3 full weeks of experience heading into this Pittsburgh game, I may give you the win. But you don't. You're going to have some players who this is just their 2nd game back, some players this is their 3rd game, and some players who are still suspended. I think Pittsburgh beats you. You turn around, go on the road to Miami, loss. Miami on the rise, really. I mean, they finally won the division for the first time in history at Miami before getting obliterated by Clemson in the ACC championship game. They're on a little bit of a losing streak right now, having lost the last couple of games of the year or whatever. But they're just a better team than North Carolina. You got to play them there. You don't win that game. You lose. Takes you into a much-needed bye week. Lick your wounds. You'll have all your players back by this point at least. You probably will have swapped quarterbacks a couple of times. Who knows? But a bye week. So good news. You will not lose that week. That's good. You stay home after your bye week and you play Virginia Tech. Loss. I'm high on Virginia Tech this year. I know most people are picking Miami to win that side of the division. Won't surprise Uncle Lou one bit if Virginia Tech wins it. I think it's definitely between those two. You're not beating Virginia Tech. The Fighting Fuente will take it to you, even though you get them at home, and they'll abuse you and give you yet another loss. Now you got back-to-back road games here. At Syracuse. Toss-up. North Carolina is a terrible, terrible team. It's just hard to find guaranteed wins. At Syracuse, if you had them at home, maybe I consider giving you a guarantee. I'm a toss-up. I'll give you a winner in a minute. Another road game at Virginia. Toss-up. Look, Virginia's terrible. They're almost as bad as you, but you got to play them there. Toss-up. I'll give you a winner in a minute. Then you come back home, play Georgia Tech. Let me go back and look here. Hold on one second. Last against the run for 5 years in a row, okay? Loss. Georgia Tech will humiliate you again. Listen, Georgia Tech runs that 40-year-old offense nobody cares about, triple option. They recruit players that nobody else wants or needs or has ever even heard of. Paul Johnson has no playbook. It's the same. He's drawing crap up in the dirt out there. But bottom line is, if you can't stop the run, that's great news for Georgia Tech. They'll run all over you, and you lose that one. On the road at Duke. Another team that struggled last year, but again, so did you. Toss up. You got to go there to play them. Western Carolina. I'll give you a win against Western Carolina, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're sitting at 1 or 2 wins at this point in the season, you could lose to them too. I mean, that's how bad North Carolina's season could be. You finish up with in-state rival NC State. 0 chance I can pencil you in as a win here. NC State, I'm not convinced they'll be as good as they were last year. They lose Bradley Chubb. One of the best defensive players they've had in a while. I do like their quarterback. I don't think he's elite, like top 5 quarterback or anything like that. But he's more than capable of getting the job done. Pro-style Finley, is that his name? Anyway, that's neither here nor there for the purposes of this video. Point is, no way I can count you as a win right now against NC State. I got to count that as a loss. Let's run back through it. At Cal, of course, I told you lost. At East Carolina, I gave you a win there. Now, this is, look, you could easily lose this game at East Carolina. You're going to have a ton of players still suspended here. East Carolina's just been really bad the last year or two. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt and giving you a win there. But that one truly could go either way. Of course, you lose to Central Florida. Pittsburgh, you lose that one. Like I said, I know you get them at home. They're not a great team, but you're still going to have players. Listen, you're lucky I'm giving you this win at East Carolina. You could easily start the season 0-4. If you somehow go 2-2 in your first 4 games, I will be amazed, okay? But I have you at 1-3, a win over East Carolina and losing the other 3 of your first 4 games. Of course, you lose at Miami, bye week, lose at Virginia Tech. At Syracuse, I gave you a loss, okay? Syracuse plays better at home than they do on the road. Shot Clemson last year. Giving Clemson their only loss of the regular season. I have to roll with Syracuse in this one. You got to go there. I do not think Syracuse is a great team. They'll hover around 500, I'm sure. Problem is, you're hovering way below 500. Syracuse gets the W. At Virginia, I gave you a win there. I honestly think Virginia Bronco Mendenhall, he inherited a terrible team, and I think Bronco Mendenhall has the chance to get Virginia turned around. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, if you want to get mad about me saying you're gonna lose to Pittsburgh or Syracuse, okay, maybe you beat them, but maybe you lose to Virginia. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt on some of these, and I'm going against you on some of these, trying to keep it fair. I gave you a win at Virginia. Of course, you lose to Georgia Tech. At Duke, no, I don't think you can. You beat Duke? I'm going to give you the win at Duke. How about that? 2-game win streak, Duke, Western Carolina. Of course, you lose to NC State. Again, this Duke game, Duke could easily beat you. So be mad at me if you want. What does that put your record at? 4-8. I got to be honest. You were 3-9 last year. I think if you didn't have any suspensions, you'd be 5-6 wins, close to bowl eligibility. I'm kind of surprised I came out with 4 wins here, given the suspension situation. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I think it's probably more likely you go 3-9 again than 4-8. But 4-8 is what I came up with here, so that's what I'm going to stick with. That's it. That's the official UNCLELOU prediction for the North Carolina Tar Heels. But there ain't going to be very many people wasting their time watching North Carolina Tar Heel football games this year. I can just tell you that now. Unless you're a fan of the team they're playing, then North Carolina will pretty much be the invisible man this year. No one will care or know really what happens to them. That's just how completely irrelevant they've become. But I still hope you have a good morning, though. Grown, tedium escapes me, startled.